No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, September 6th, 2023, coming off the AEW All Out pay-per-view event. We opened up the show with Orange Cassidy coming to the ring, fresh off of his loss at All Out to Jon Moxley. Orange Cassidy had a great run as the international champion. He got on the mic and said that he was told to stay home, but he's not listening. He said he will be on AEW every single week, title or no title. He then left. Jon Moxley showed up for his match against AR Fox. It was a competitive match between Moxley and Fox. This was an international title open challenge. Moxley had to escape to the outside at one point to slow down the momentum of one AR Fox. Moxley did gain the upper hand on the outside. He threw AR Fox into the barricade, threw him over the barricade. After the commercial break, Fox started to make a comeback. He hit a cutter. Moxley kicked out of that. We had Darby Allin and Nick Wayne watching from the back. AR Fox hit a 450 splash. Once again, Moxley kicked out. Moxley finally got the win, hit the lariat, followed by the Death Rider, and picked up the 1-2-3 victory over a very game AR Fox. Match was about what you would expect. Good match with these guys. Predictable outcome. Moxley's not losing his first title defense to AR Fox. Just ain't happening. After the match was over, Darby Allin came into the ring, raised the hand of AR Fox. They're back on good terms after Swerve turned against Fox a few weeks back. And then backstage, Christian Cage and Luchasaurus confronted Nick Wayne. And Christian said that he apologized for talking about Nick's dad because Nick's dad was even worse than Christian thought he was. That son of a bitch, Christian. And then Christian said that maybe he could be Nick Wayne's mentor. Christian's doing great stuff here. He is at the top of his game right now as a heel. We had Chris Statlander versus Emi Sakura in a match for the TBS championship. Not at the 9:15 to 9:30 quarter hour, but the only women's match on the show again. Emi got in some offense. It was a fairly competitive match. She did a crossbody sending Chris off the apron, and then Emi did another one outside into the steel steps. But back in the ring, she was not able to put away Statlander. She had a backbreaker. Statlander kicked out, and then Statlander hit a discus lariat. Then she picked up the win with the Wednesday Night Fever. Match was fine, but again, pretty much what you would expect. A showcase match, have the champion pick up a win over a game challenger. Same thing as the first match. And then we had Roderick Strong, a little vignette with him, and he talked about his rough upbringing. He said that wrestling is his everything, and he vowed to win the Grand Slam tournament. They're doing yet another tournament. They got to come up with some more unique ways to build up challengers. I feel like AEW really overdoes it with the tournaments. We just had the Owen Hart tournament a couple months ago. We have all these different Eliminator tournaments. I think they need to go a different route every now and then. One tournament a year, maybe two, but that's it. We had a tag team match. Lay Sex Gods, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara against Aussie Open. This was really the only match on the show that I thought was maybe a little unpredictable. I still expected Les Sex Gods to win, but I thought, well, there could be some angle because they've been teasing Jericho and Guevara having a split. There could have been some shenanigans. Don Callis was on commentary for this match. Jericho and Guevara worked well together, and then Aussie Open got the upper hand for a while. And then Jericho started to make a comeback, but accidentally knocked Guevara off the apron. It was an accident. Jericho recovered from that, hit the Judas effect, and got the 1-2-3 victory. But Guevara was not happy. After the match was over, things got heated between them. Security came down, and Guevara walked out on Chris Jericho. And Calvin Bowman, no, the real world champion is MJF. You're never going to see that CM Punk X title again. Just saying. We had a Ricky Starks video package basically saying he will not quit. He is still absolute Ricky Starks, and he will say it until the day he dies. We also had an announcement that next week, Don Callis will reveal his new masterpiece, and it's going to determine who Takeshita's next target will be. That will be next week on AEW Dynamite. And then we had quite the segment. We had MJF come into the ring for a promo, and he said that Grand Slam was going to be just like every other event. MJF was going to prevail because nobody is on the level of the devil, especially in New York, New York. Samoa Joe quickly interrupted the promo, and he kept referring to MJF as Kid. MJF did not appreciate this. He made some fat jokes towards Samoa Joe, said that maybe Joe confused his entrance music for an ice cream truck, called Joe the Pillsbury Joe Boy. And Joe just kept asking, what's the problem? What is MJF's problem? And called him Kid. Crowd started chanting F you, Joe, but that was uncensored. And then MJF told a story. He brought up the WWE tryout, William Regal, how Regal blew him off. Crowd chanted "You effed up" at Regal. Regal was not there, of course. MJF, the point of all this was that he was a security guard. He had a little small role, and we've seen that clip where Samoa Joe, as NXT World Champion, was walking to the ring. MJF was the security guard, and Samoa Joe shoved him, as MJF put it, into a brick wall. I'm not sure if it was a brick wall, but it was a wall. Maybe it was a brick wall. I've seen the clip, and I don't even remember if it was a brick wall or not. And MJF also said that MJF sent Regal packing back to NXT where he belongs, and if Joe plays his cards right, he's next. MJF said he's no longer a kid. He's now a generational talent, and he warned Joe to stay out of his way or else he might just kill Joe. Joe responded by saying that he didn't think MJF was a kid back then. He thought MJF was a little bitch. MJF slapped Joe. A little bit of a weak slap. Got to work on that, Max. Joe said he's not taking the bait. He'll go through the tournament. He'll win it. And as MJF started to leave, Joe took a cheap shot. But MJF fought him off because Joe got a little bit too cocky. He started raising his championship. MJF gave him a low blow. They fought, and Joe did get the upper hand and was going for the muscle buster. But Adam Cole, baby, MJF's best friend and tag team partner, ran down and made the save for MJF. Officials were checking on MJF. He said his arm was numb. He kept yelling out shit. He was acting like he was hurt. And then Joe got on the mic again, said next time he'll finish off MJF, and he once again called MJF a bitch. MJF had to be helped to the back. Then Roderick Strong came down to the ring for a match, a tournament match to determine the opponent for MJF at Grand Slam. It was Roderick Strong versus Trent. Another match where you know damn well who's winning this. But it was a pretty decent match. And Trent was going after the neck of Strong. Strong was acting like his neck was hurt, but he was exaggerating, and that allowed himself to gain the upper hand. He dropped Trent back first on the apron, and Trent did start to make a comeback. He hit a DVD, Strong kicked out, and then Trent delivered a pile driver, but Strong was able to get his foot on the rope. Strong regained control, and Strong was able to pick up the win with the backstabber, which he calls the end of heartache. And then he put his neck brace on after the match, and they were joking around that on commentary that Strong has been wearing this neck brace way longer than he's been injured, and it's all, it's the Bob Orton gimmick. Cowboy Bob Orton would wear that arm brace for years, acting like he was always hurt. So, that's the gimmick here that Strong is doing. We had Toni Storm interviewed backstage, and she has this new gimmick where she just acts all pompous and exaggerating her accent. We'll see if this pans out for her. She's breaking away from the Outcasts. We'll see where they go with this. She threw a shoe at Renee Paquette. And the crowd was laughing at it, by the way. They got a kick out of that one. Hangman Adam Page came to the ring for an interview with Tony Schiavone, and he was all humble, talking about winning the Battle Royal at the 0 hour kickoff. And he was quickly interrupted by Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana. Swerve joked that he was in a coffin for 2 weeks, and that gave him some clarity. He insulted Page for being in the Battle Royal and donating to charity. Swerve said that Page should not have been on the kickoff. Page should have been in the main event competing for a championship. Swerve talked about how Page was the cornerstone of AEW when it launched. And now Swerve wonders if Page just doesn't want it anymore. He said that Page has taken a back seat to the elite and has gotten comfortable. Swerve said that if he got Page's opportunities, he'd be the first Black AEW World Champion by now. And he said that something's going to happen here. Either Page is going to move over or get that confidence, show people what cowboy shit is. But Swerve warned that if Page decides to step up, Swerve will walk him like a dog if they get in the ring. Either way, Swerve is coming for Page's spot. Page stormed off, did not want to deal with Swerve, and then Swerve made it personal, said it's a shame that Page's wife and kids have to see him walk away from his responsibilities, and Page, of course, got fired up, got in the ring, but it was a setup. It was a swerve. Brian Cage jumped Adam Page, left him laying, and they did announce Cage versus Page on next week's Dynamite. Shout out to Sun Goshuak, who sent in a $5 super chat. I will get to that in just a minute here. Same thing with Attitude Era Mark. I will get to those super chats momentarily. I thought this was a great promo. I thought this was Swerve's best work in his career in AEW, maybe ever, as far as promos go. I thought he was put in a high position here to deliver, and I thought he did. I mean, he did a great job here, and I'm intrigued about this storyline. I thought this was a strong start to this program between Adam Page and Swerve Strickland. Really well done here by Swerve. We had our main event of the evening, which was Darby Allin versus Nick Wayne. Nick Wayne in the main event of Dynamite. They had a handshake, sportsmanship, and then they fought on the outside. Darby got in the ring, went for a suicide dive, but missed. He crashed into the barricade, and this was brutal. Nick was concerned. Nick was hesitating a bit, but he did get on the offense, but it wasn't enough for Darby. Darby got on the mic and said that Nick is hitting him like an 18-year-old and needs to hit him like he wants to win the match. So Nick started laying in his shots more, and then Christian Cage with Luchasaurus, the TNT champion, they showed up. They got on commentary. Roderick Strong and the Kingdom were also watching. After the commercial break, Wayne hit a frog splash to the floor, got Darby back in the ring, but Darby was able to avoid Wayne's World. They traded some near falls. The show went into a slight overtime, and Darby was finally able to get the win with a submission. I'm not even sure what the submission was called. It was a unique submission. Pretty sudden finish here. But yeah, Darby Allin did pick up the win. He advances in the tournament. And then Christian got up on the stage and held up the TNT title as Dynamite went off the air. Interesting show this week. I thought the wrestling was good, but for the most part, the matches were predictable. I thought what stole the show this week were the promos. MJF and Samoa Joe, great segment. And I thought the segment with Swerve and Page was also great. Both of those promo segments were really strong. I enjoyed them. The wrestling was okay, but there's no match on this show where I'd say you have to go out of your way to watch it. Darby and Nick Wayne was interesting. At least that was something a little bit different. Overall, I give the show a B. Good Dynamite, not a top tier one, but the promo segments I did think were top tier, and they do have me intrigued. And I give them credit for trying to push some different people. You got Swerve, who has been pushed, but this might have been his biggest segment yet. They're trying to do something with Nick Wayne, and they're continuing to push AR Fox. They are trying to make an effort here and build up some of the younger talent. And at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. And Roderick Strong, he's been around for a while, but they're pushing him. They're pushing the Kingdom, getting some new people in the mix. That's a positive. I did enjoy the show overall. And it was a solid crowd. They definitely were not afraid to chant some profanity, that's for sure. Now, there are some non-AEW Super Chat questions here and comments, so let's read those off here. Attitude Era Mark sent in a $2 Super Chat and says, I miss characters like Mick Foley, Undertaker, Kane, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. A great time to be a fan, no doubt. And you know what? The wrestling was inferior to today, in my opinion. But the characters back then, it's hard to top that. Like when you had all those guys around at the same time, it was magic. It was a peak in wrestling history from a creative standpoint. You had all these awesome, larger-than-life characters around at the very same time. And I don't know if we've ever had that kind of star power since. Like the brand is strong, but it was a different era. It just was. Sun Goshuaku sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Sun. Much appreciated. Hope you're doing well. Says, How would you rank AEW's first 4 years from least to best? Year 1, 2019 to 2020. Year 2, 2020 to 21. And then 21 to 22. And then year 4, 2022 to 2023. I would rank 21 to 22 first. That was the period when CM Punk debuted, Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, and then early 2022 was pretty strong. And then probably the first year, 2019 to 2020, which would include all the pre-pandemic stuff. And then year 2, 2020 to 21. I'd say year 4, 22 to 23 has probably been the weakest, even weaker than the pandemic, just because I feel like AEW has cooled off a bit. They're no longer the hot, new, shiny toy, and they've had some struggles, with all the backstage drama. But the shows have still been pretty consistent, especially the pay-per-views. I do feel like aspects of Dynamite have gotten stale, and you can say maybe there's been an oversaturation of the product. You got Rampage, and now you got Collision, and it's just a lot to follow. The Rock's Jockstrap sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says top 5 Rock matches, and is he the GOAT? I wouldn't say he's the greatest of all time because his career was relatively short, but the time he was hot, I mean, you could argue he was number 1. He was right up there with Austin and Hogan and any other guy you would consider to be a top guy. Top 5 matches, WrestleMania versus Steve Austin. I mean, 17 and 19, I think, would be in contention. His matches with Triple H, SummerSlam 98 was great. The Iron Man match was great. And Mick Foley. I'd say, I'm not sure a lot of people would name this one, but the Empty Arena match. I mean, it was just so damn entertaining. The Rock was in top form in that match. So those are the ones that stand out the most to me. And the Armageddon Hell in a Cell match, the 6-man, Rock was in that one. That was a pretty entertaining match. Underrated, in my opinion. Walter Cruz sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Walter. Says, do you think Samoa Joe is winning the tournament? Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one negative, as you brought up earlier in the chat. I think it's obvious Joe's winning this. Samoa Joe versus MJF at Grand Slam, although maybe Joe doesn't win it. And there's some shenanigans, and they save Joe versus MJF for Wrestle Dream. Like, that's a possibility. I mean, I'm still going with Samoa Joe. Seems like the obvious direction, and Joe's just a filler opponent. But, I mean, they had such a good segment. I almost feel like they should try to build up Joe a little bit more and have that match take place on a pay-per-view. Attitude Era Mark sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, why is it so hard to recreate kayfabe? Lazy? For WWE, as far as trying to create these larger-than-life stars, I think it comes down to they don't want anybody getting bigger than the company. And keep in mind, in 97, 98, there was a wrestling war. And you had to do something. You had to make new stars. WWE, their backs were against the wall. So when it came to Steve Austin and The Rock and Mick Foley, these guys got opportunities that they probably would not have gotten in any other era. Like, the handcuffs were off for these guys. And unfortunately now, WWE, they've done it many times where somebody had some momentum, but then if it wasn't the company's doing, they had to kind of put these guys down a peg or two and cut off that momentum. So it's just a matter of now it's about the brand, and WWE wants big stars, but I don't think they want one guy to be at a level above everybody else. And they want the brand to be the reason people are showing up to the arenas. I mean, the closest thing you have right now is John Cena, but again, he was their guy. WWE said, John Cena's the guy we're pushing. Take it or leave it. And that's why a number of fans resented John Cena for all those years, because they felt like he was being force-fed on them. Anyways, guys, thank you all for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed the live stream, and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. I will be back Friday night after SmackDown, and we got another No DQ review coming up Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Check that out. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.